ATP, what it do? It's your boy Clay Rain back at you guys with another one. This one right here is a late one, right? First of all, shout out to all my subscribers. If this is your first time tapping into the content, I do invite you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit your bell icons as well, so you are getting alerts when all this content is dropping. But like I said, guys, this one right here is a late one. I addressed this on my live that I shot, I believe it was yesterday. We had a great live yesterday. Guys, you can tap into that. By the way, we always go live Tuesday, Wednesday, most of the time on Thursdays. Guys, I had surgery on my mouth, on my face. I've been recovering. I'm pretty much almost back. I'm almost back at it. I'm feeling like my old self. If you guys have been following the live, you remember how swollen the jaw was and my face, and I still got some bruising around my eyes and things of that nature. It was a pretty invasive surgery. So I'm pretty much feeling almost there, right? But if you follow the live that I do run Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, today, not including today, I didn't run one today, but we addressed this on the live. But I did want to make a video about this and finally give my final thoughts on this. So you guys are familiar. Turki Al-Sheikh drops a tweet the other day. I won't pull up the tweet. I'm sure everybody's seen it already, but basically referring to the fact that he will no longer be looking to affiliate his brand with the kind of fighters who run, right? The time, like that's why he said the Tom and Jerry tactics that he sees happening in the fights. Now, look, you're talking to an investor in the sport right now who's paying 9 out of 10 fighters that are fighting under his banner are getting their highest paydays, right? He's paying top level amounts of money, and this is somebody who's passionate about the sport, who's doing it not only as an assignment that's been given to him by the prince and the king of Saudi Arabia, as far as bringing sports to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and Riyadh the brand, and having them be branded as putting out the most exciting, competitive, legendary, historical fights that the space has to offer. Not only that, but also a boxing fan who's gone on record to say that his favorite fighters are Larry Holmes and Roberto Duran, as far as legendary fighters are concerned. If you guys are familiar with Larry Holmes or Roberto Duran, Tom and Jerry antics was not in their vocabulary, right? So recently, Turki Al-Sheikh had a big event in Times Square with Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero headlining it, Devin Haney, and Jesus Christ, Jose Ramirez co-headlining and having Teofimo also on that card defending his WBO title against Arnold Barbosa. Now, the card was a lackluster card, guys. We can be frank and upfront about it to say that the way that, especially, let's be honest, the way Devin Haney performed against Jose Ramirez, or the way they fought each other, however you want to look at it, the boxing space pushed back at the idea of that fight. And we're talking about across the board, right? Not just, I know some people would like to say that this is the Tank fans who are attacking Devin, or people who just hate Devin attacking Devin. No, we're talking about across the board. We're talking about pundits across the space, from the Tim Bradleys to the Chris Algieri's to the Poli Malinagi's, to the Robert Garcias, who was training Jose Ramirez in that fight. I mean, across the board, right? Just across the board, from platform to platform to platform, you're hard to find one that would say that they were satisfied or satiated by seeing that fight that Devin Haney put out against Jose Ramirez, or for all argumentative purposes, putting that to the side, the fight that they both put up against each other. So pushing back at that, and then for the next evening for a fight between Canelo Alvarez and William Skull, which was going to be for an undisputed title. William Skull being the IBF champion based off of the fact that it was stripped off of a Canelo Alvarez. The fight was even more lackluster. As William Skull got on his bike, moved around the ring a lot, great footwork, but at the end of the day, did not engage Canelo Alvarez enough, and Canelo Alvarez was putting in enough effort to cut the ring off, and it just ended up being a very boring fight. A horrible weekend of fights for Riyadh season and for Turki Al-Sheikh's brand. Finally, on the back end of signing a deal with Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford to fight in September, and making an official announcement, Turki puts out this tweet that basically states that Riyadh season is no longer interested in being affiliated with those kind of fights. He wants only fighters that are willing to put it all out in the ring, put their heart on the line. He's here for the historical space of boxing. He's trying to check boxes in that area. And the black urban boxing fan in space have taken this as a direct shot towards Devin Haney. A lot of people who don't like Devin Haney or who didn't like the way Devin Haney performed in that fight have also taken that statement to be a statement that was directed towards Devin Haney, maybe even Shakur Stevenson as well. Now, keep in mind, Shakur Stevenson just coming off of a very exciting fight against Josh Padley, a last-minute replacement as he was getting ready to fight Floyd Schofield. We know how that ended up going, but he ended up stopping Josh Padley. So mainly, they're focusing their energy and saying, listen, as Turkey's putting out this statement, who must he be talking about? And they've directed it at Devin Haney. Me, myself, I can definitely empathize, right? And shout out to Showbiz the Adult, who also put out a video real close to after that Devin Haney fight in Williams, after that weekend, and basically started to campaign and petition for this no running rule. Wanted something to be done that could hedge and contingencies that would be able to be implemented that would go against letting fighters fight for 12 rounds the way that we saw those fighters fight for that weekend. Now, a lot of boxing fans feels like, well, we're talking about movement. Are we talking about lateral movement? Are we talking about the idea of hitting and not being hit, stopping that? Or are we talking about something excessive? Now, Showbiz has communicated that he's talking about something excessive. And I tend to agree with him on that, right? Ain't something excessive, evading and moving away from actual action in the fight for a long period of time makes the fight boring. And as he stated, and I've stated before as well, and it's just use your critical thinking skills to understand that what benefits the sport, a sport that used to be at the top of the list when it comes to the most popular sport in the world. It's a world level sport. And the sport has taken a blow in the past 10, 20 years to taking a backseat to the UFC in multiple ways and other sports as well, because one, the structure's not there. The sanctioning bodies, the ranking structure is not respected. Champions can go ahead and be champions and not fight all their mandatories at times. And we can specifically talk about Canelo Alvarez, and you saw how that was handled between him and David Benavidez at 168 pounds. The WBC simply turned a blind eye and allowed Canelo to move the way he wanted to move, and there was no actual structure to the sport. Fans have a hard time keeping up with that. And then we're also talking about multiple belts inside of a sport, multiple belts underneath a belt. When you have a WBC title, WC interim title, WBC silver title, I mean, it just gets crazy. Regular WBA, super WBA. I mean, it can get crazy and hard to keep up with. Those are one of the things that's hurt boxing. But also, at the same time, we've had a hard time seeing the best fight the best. Fighters trying to protect their O's. And when they do get in the ring, they fight at times conservative in spaces where you don't want to see them fighting conservative because they're trying to protect their position and they're trying to move in a certain way to get themselves closer to the ultimate goal of either being a champion or getting to their biggest paydays. So all these different things happening for boxing, you can argue that boxing is in a rebuild phase, that it's finally building itself back up. We're way more active with the addition of Turki Al-Sheikh into the boxing space, putting together huge cards, great fights that the fans want to see, always trying to put on fights that fans want to see. Sometimes, things happen, where fighters are being loyal to their side of the street, or, have reservations about working with Turki Al-Sheikh or fighting in Riyahd or whatever it might be, but always attempting to give us the biggest fights, making money no longer a legitimate argument as to why a fight doesn't happen. But also at the same exact time, Turki Al-Sheikh has been on a little bit of a learning curve, right? Paying fighters top dollar, but in the situation that happened over the weekend, we saw fighters who looked like they knew their biggest paydays were going to be after this fight, and they fought accordingly. Just gave up just to make sure they won the fight so they could protect the opportunity that was laid for them ahead of that fight. They were looking past the fight that was in front of them. And Turkey had a horrible weekend. So, of course, after signing Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez and getting them locked into a fight, we can assume that a good conversation was had to let it be known that we want a great fight out of both of you guys. I know both of you guys are, or pound for pound greats, face of boxing, and Canelo Alvarez, a pound for pound fighter like Terrence Crawford. You guys already legitimized your space and cemented your space in the Hall of Fame. But we don't want no shenanigans in this fight. We want you guys to put it all out there. We're not saying go out there and get knocked out, but take some chances, take some risk, give the fans a great fight, make this an entertaining fight for the fans. We know you can do it. And so Turki Al-Sheikh, and guys, remember, Turki Al-Sheikh's second, third, or fourth language, who knows what language is English, right? This is probably the newest language in his repertoire of language that he speaks. If you ever hear Turki Al-Sheikh speak, you see that English isn't exactly his strong suit. So he puts out a tweet into the Twitter space saying, basically assuring the fans that Riyahd season is not trying to be affiliated with those kind of fights, and they only want to be involved in those most exciting fights. But of course, the boxing fans in America, they hear things, and we love to read in between the lines out here. Although he never mentioned Devin Haney's name, Shakur Stevens' name, William Skull's name, Canelo Alvarez's name, Terrence Crawford's name, or any of the other names that you think he should be mentioning. Although he didn't mention those names, the inquiring minds decided to speculate, and the speculation has hit the algorithm like a damn thunderstorm, right? Just shaking the whole algorithm up. Turki Al-Sheikh doesn't want Devin Haney to fight anymore under his brand, or instructed Devin Haney or threatened Devin Haney in some sort of way, or referred to Devin Haney in some sort of a way. And here we are right now. Where am I at with it? After that whole spiel, where am I at with it? It's very simple. Number one, Turki Al-Sheikh is paying for these fights, so he has a right to share his opinion on it. If I have a right to share my opinion on it, you as a fan has a right to share their opinion on it, and we're not paying these fighters the millions of dollars that they're getting, then of course the investor who's putting millions, close to billions of dollars behind the sport has a right to speak on what he wants and doesn't want in the sport and what he supports. Number two, for the sake of boxing and for boxing to grow, boxing has to be exciting. We want boxing to be exciting. You want to see the fight. That's what the fans want to see. And that's what Turki Al-Sheikh is here for. No fighter, no one particular fighter is bigger than the actual game itself, is bigger than the actual program. And what the program is putting boxing back at the front, at the top, right? And in front of the whole entire sport and entertainment world as one of the most exciting sports again. We want to see a resurgence of boxing in the space, and you can't do that by having fights that are lackluster, that are boring, that people are falling asleep to in the midst of watching it. This is not going to work for the sport or the fighters who are looking for their highest paydays. How these fighters can get paid. Although Turki Al-Sheikh right now is putting up on all the money up front and not so concerned with the back end or the return, how many promoters and other in events is Turki Al-Sheikh going to continue doing before the profit margins start to become a concern as far as whether or not the sport is worth investing in? We're building up the casual fan base, big trailers, video games, things of that nature, building up a fan base, but he wants to do it the right way. Hence why he's bringing up TKO with Dana White and Nick Khan and all the different things that he's getting involved with, trying to put boxing on the biggest stage possible and bring fans to the space and have them intrigued and interested in the sport. That is his mission. So, of course, he's going to be interested in how it's delivered. Now, the fighters, it's up to them to fight how they see fit. Hit and not get hit is always the main rule. But understand this. At the end of the day, if it's profitable, it makes sense. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. If it doesn't, you guys know how that works. So the fighters have a decision to make. Yes, fighters like Devin Haney. Yes, fighters like William Skull. Yes, fighters who choose to box have a decision to make on how much they're willing to risk in the spirit of A, blowing up their own market value, making the money that they want to make, and B, also bolstering the sport up to the next level. This is part of the game. The prize fighting part of the game, the business of boxing screams for entertaining fights. I have no issues with Turki Al-Sheikh putting out a statement like that. And once again, he didn't direct it at any one particular fighter. Matter of fact, counter what people are trying to say out there after they've speculated after what he said in that Twitter. He stood behind Devin Haney. He gave Devin Haney a 3-fight deal, looking to put him together in other fights, try to get him a fight with Teofimo Lopez. Same thing with Shakur Stevenson. He's a Ring Magazine ambassador damn near. Paying him his biggest paydays to put him in fights. He has a fight coming up on a Ring Magazine card where he's co-headlining. A lot of people feel like he should be headlining against William Zepeda. So I don't see any evidence of Turki Al-Sheikh directing this directly at one fighter. I do believe that he's directing this at the sport of boxing and in general saying that he wants his brand and his name affiliated with nothing but what the best boxing has to offer and doesn't want to see, like he said, the Tom and Jerry antics. That's where I stand on it. I think Turki's well within his right to express himself that way, and it makes sense in the spirit of putting the sport where it needs to be. No one fighter is bigger than the program. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Where do you stand on this? Is Turki Al-Sheikh out of line? Is he declaring war on the black fighters, on the slick fighter, the fighter who hits and doesn't get hit? Is this what Turki's declaring war on? Is he outlawing this from boxing and wants fighters to stand in front of each other, toe-to-toe, blow for blow, throwing shots, taking shots, and may the best man win, being the last man standing? Or is he simply just being honest to say that, listen, I want boxers to fight safe. I want them to keep the sweet science in mind when boxing, but at the end of the day, excessive movement, excessive evading of actual fight possibilities or an actual boxing match where it's just one fighter chasing another fighter around who's moving around and evading all types of interactions with the fighter may not be something that will help the sport and embolden the sport to be what it could be and should be and what a lot of boxing fans want it to be. Let me know what you think in the comment section, guys. Once again, I want to shout out to all my subscribers. Thank you for helping to stand by me and support this channel. This channel is doing great. We're moving forward. I'm learning every day and hopefully getting better every day. If this is your first time tapping into the content, I am going to invite you, take a moment right now, subscribe to the channel, right? And also, whether you subscribe or you're not subscribed, go down there to the thumbs up section and let's get a thumbs up for this video right here so it gets in the algorithm where it needs to be in front of the eyes that needs to see it. But it is what it is. It's your boy Claymore Rain. This is the ATP Combat Media Show, guys. Until the next one, you know how we carry it. At this point, we out.